South Yorkshire grows out of Sherwood Forest and the Dukeries. It's still a country of isolated collieries like Steatley and Maltby, with miles of country in between. Rich country, rich for centuries, a country of famous names and places, like Wentworth Woodhouse. Then suddenly, the area bangs up hard against the steelworks of Rotherham, and Sheffield, reborn today as one of Britain's newest cities. Bullcroft, 530,000 tons. Onwards now towards Leeds, past Barley Hall and Silkstone mines, to reach the older part of the coalfield, the Barnsley area. Barnsley and Sheffield are poles apart. Move on again with a train of empties heading to Doncaster. Very soon now you are in the country of the big collieries. Barnborough, 850,000 tons of coal a year. Goldthorpe, 650,000 tons. Askern, 700,000 tons. Brodsworth, over 1.25 million tons of coal a year. And Hickleton, Maine. This is the part of Yorkshire where you feel it's just because it's Yorkshire, it's got to be biggest and best. This northern area faces both ways. West to the textile towns, east to Europe. A full 70 miles from the sea, the air and Calder navigation brings seagoing barges right up to Leeds and Wakefield. All the way down to the Humber, you ride past a roll call of collieries. Rothwell, Waterhague, Saville, Allerton Bywater, Welldale, Fryston. This roll call spells power. Power for some of Britain's newest power stations. Not far now to one of Europe's greatest coal exporting ports, Immingham. From here, Yorkshire and Midland coal goes to Scandinavia and the Low Countries. 4 Yorkshire areas, all different, but all in a community of coal. The brand new mine at Kellingley stands as a symbol of all of Yorkshire, Britain's biggest coalfield, at the service of the nation. Within these 4 square miles of friendly Yorkshire countryside, the Turner family have been farriers and horsemen for nearly 200 years. 84-year-old Mrs. Turner, mother of 10, numbers among her strapping Yorkshire sons Britain's oldest colliery horseman. For 46 of his 59 years, Albert has been with the ponies at West Yorkshire's lively Woolly Colliery. Today, despite increasing mechanisation, the coal board's 15,000 pit ponies still do useful work, hauling the timber for underground repairs and maintenance. They are playing their part to help keep some of this underground. A popular belief that Britain's 15,000 pit ponies are maltreated or blind is untrue. No blind ponies are ever put to work in British pits. Maximum hours of work are laid down for the pony as for the miner he serves. If the miners work a 5-day week, then the pony too has a free weekend. When a pit is closed for a miner's holiday, the pony also has a rest. No other horse working for its living is protected by such detailed legislation as the coal board's ponies. Maintaining the Turner tradition with their father and his brother George are sons Harry, 36, and Desmond, 25. The sons work the shifts with the ponies below ground and run an underground stable. The days in a man's working life can be spent in far less satisfying ways than this. As part of their preliminary training before going underground, the new 4-year-olds are taught to walk between tub rails under Albert's supervision. When a pony comes to the end of his useful working life, he is assured of an honourable retirement. This is Tom, age 33, the oldest retired pit pony in Britain. Should a pony be sold, there is a risk that he may fall into unscrupulous hands. If no home can be found for him, and it must be a home that comes up to high standards, then he is humanely destroyed under the supervision of the coal board officials. In all the winds that blow, Albert cares for his 25 retired veterans who have done between 15 and 23 years of useful work. Nobody wants to lose old friends, and here is Tommy, who won a first at Maltby in 1953. After shift, the sturdy turners sit around on stable chairs and discuss, by way of a change, some of the finer points of equestrian form. We are proud, and the Turner family can be proud of Albert's 36 years at Woolly Colliery. His ponies are contributing their share in helping the Woolly men lift an average of 18,500 tons of good West Yorkshire every week.
By hand. Set props and bars. On the back shift, move the whole cumbersome apparatus forward again. Identity within the community was strong. Social amenities were lacking, but the mining villages and townships clustered round the pits. The sense of belonging to a community as well as an industry manifested itself at its strongest in the mining galas, in the Durham Big Meeting above all. Out of the social revolution of the 40s came nationalisation of the industry. After a war in which 5,000 miners had been killed at work. Now was to begin the period of most significant change. It made itself seen on the surface in the great reconstruction schemes of the 50s. Underground was still the area of the hardest graft. On the faces came the earliest strivings towards mechanized mining. Some of the new machinery, like the coal ploughs, were adaptations of machines developed in Europe, particularly in Germany. Coal mining has always crossed the boundaries of nations. The years of the war were the years when the armoured brigades swept through Europe. Panzer means armour, and the armoured flexible conveyor dates from this time. Curious perhaps that British miners today still talk of Panzer instead of AFC, probably without knowing its derivation. And without it, and the development of hydraulics in the mines, the modern method of support and of advancing the face would not have been possible. Out of the plough was developed the Samson stripper, an early form of self-advancing cataloader. Then came the Hewitt slicer with its oscillating blade pattern. The Miko Moore cataloader, designed before the war, was a development of the early coal cutters, but it loaded the coal as well. Under the post-war Lend-Lease agreement, equipment came from across the Atlantic. The American Joy Continuous Miner was to pave the way for the Canadian Dosco. The Marietta came into use in roadway drivage and in headings. In the thinner seams, the scraper box replaced the plough, and the auger made a brief appearance, mainly in room and pillar workings. Attempts were made to speed up haulage and transport of coal by means of local inventions, like the Lambton worm. But it was not until the 1950s that the breakthrough came in the development of a rotary long-wall cutter loader. In 1952 came the first of the Anderton shearer loaders, a rotary drum cutter with a plough to divert the coal onto the armoured face conveyor. Improvised attempts were made to simplify cable handling. The trepanner was next on the scene, using rotary cutters in two planes to cut and load at the same time. Next, the continuing developments of the shearer. The single-ended ranging ground. The double-ended. And the nucleonic steered versions, sensing automatically the difference between roof and coal. Safe mining requires that the ground be properly supported. The introduction of hydraulics in the support made the parallel breakthrough. During our 40 years, we have moved from rigid wooden and steel props with bars and lids through yielding supports, first frictional and then hydraulic, to the fully integrated, self-advancing supports, which now are an essential ingredient in the mix of modern mechanized mining. Today, the emphasis is towards keeping up drivage of roadways, with the rapid advance of which the face is capable. The fast drivage of headings is essential to enable retreat working to expand. The inseam header is one of the recently introduced tools for speeding up the development of faces. With fewer men and even more costly machinery, it becomes possible to establish coal faces we only dreamed about 20 years ago, in the early high-flown idealism of the remotely operated long-wall face. Now, we are coming to a more rational realization in the Advanced Technology Mining Projects, ATM. The day of the £3 million face is not far off. But painstaking though our progress has been, we can still take pride over the years in the introduction of British longwall mining techniques and in the use of British mining machinery to the other coal mining nations. Coal mining has always been international. Leave the face now and retrace our steps. After 40 years, the picture has changed. Trunk conveyors, automatically monitored manless transfer points, bunkers, trains hauled by diesel or electric locomotives, mine cars, man-riding carriages, skip winders and big cages. Movement and environment monitored and sometimes controlled from the surface, and an emphasis on safety which has made British mining the least hazardous in the world. Inevitably, there are now fewer men, more machines, more systems. Are these fewer men better men? They are undoubtedly more privileged men, but they are still miners. And it is upon them, they who implement the tools and the decisions, as well as upon the mining engineers, who will continue to devise and to execute their dreams of the future, that we shall all continue to win our essential energy from under the earth, not only for the next 40 years, but for the next 400.
Ever since we took office, we have been exhorting you to work hard.
Ernest Bevan, I think most of us, or me especially, if I had a gun, I would have shot him.
None of us liked being Bevan boys, but there were 48,000 of us. And in hindsight, looking back, I think we did a fine job. We did do a good job, and it was absolutely essential to the nation's survival. Because without us, I wouldn't like to say what would have happened.
I feel at least I contributed something towards the war effort. I probably would have contributed more if I'd got into the RAF, if I'd lived through it, but that's fate. And I wasn't destined ever to fly. Instead of going up, shall we say, I went down.
We were never allowed to forget that we were part of a main picture, and we were doing our bit in the main picture. I wasn't a Marine, but I was a Marine underground. I was doing the same job, but underground in a different nature.
It was not until 1995 that these forgotten conscripts were allowed to take part in the Remembrance Day service. And in 2008, the surviving Bevan boys were finally awarded a medal recognising the important part they played in the war.
And there's another UK TV History exclusive coming up at 5 when we take a look back on VE Day with victory in Europe. Next this morning, though, island nations pin hope for survival on the blockade in Battle Plan.